right, so the last shape we're going to learn in the area is a circle. We're going to use pi again, but remember from last week, pi is always 3.14. So to find the area of a circle, we use the formula A equals pi r2. So we've got another exponent, pi times the radius to the 2. Now BEDMAS tells us that we have to do that first, right? The radius to the 2 and then times by pi. So pi is still 3.14 and r is the radius of the circle that goes from the middle to the one edge. So last week when we were doing circumference of a circle, we worked with a diameter. That's the one that goes all the way across. And sometimes, last week, they only gave us the radius, so we had to times it by 2 to get the diameter. So the opposite is going to work this week. We've got the circle. The radius is the one that goes from the middle to one side. If you have a diameter and you need to find the radius, then you need to divide it by 2. If you split it in half, that will give you the radius. So just like last week we did d equals r times 2, this week it's the opposite. R equals d divided by 2. So if you have a circle on your worksheet today that has a diameter that goes all the way across, you need to divide it by 2 first to find out the radius. All right, so what do we got? We've got, once you know the formula, well, once you know the radius, you can use the formula. So we've got an example down here, and here it is. Remember, the radius goes from the middle to one side, so this one's perfect. That's a radius. So area equals pi r squared. Area equals 3.14 times 5 to the 2. Why am I putting them in brackets? Because that's a shorthand for multiplication. So I put the 3.14 in brackets, put the 5 in brackets. When those brackets are touching, it just means multiply. Now I have to do my exponent first. So outside calculation, 5 to the 2 means 5 times 5, which is 25. Now, if we are working with larger numbers, then you're going to need to do a proper outside calculation to find out what that is. So we've got 25, we go and replace it in our formula. 3.14 times 25. So now I multiply 3.14 with 25. So 3.14 times 25. 5 times 4 is 20, carry your 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 2 that you carried is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. Put your x, move to the 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. So now that I have my 2 answer lines, I'm going to add them up. 0 plus nothing is 0. 7 plus 8 is 15, carry your 1. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus the 1 that I carried is 8. 6 plus 1 is 7. 2 decimal spots, 2 decimal spots. So the area of my circle is 78 and 5, 0, or just 5, you don't really need the 0, centimeters squared. Don't forget the little 2. All right, so if you turn to page 28 in your folder, you're going to do numbers 1 to 12, and let's do number 1 together. So number 1, do I have a diameter or a radius? I have a radius. It goes from the middle to the side, so I'm good. Now I can do area equals pi r squared. So if you don't want to use the brackets like I used in the last example, that's fine. If you're more comfortable using a times, just use a times. Don't worry about the brackets if you don't want to. All right, so the first thing I need to do is 10 to the 2, which I know means 10 times 10, which I also know is 100. That's on your chart. You could do, if you're working with larger numbers though, just remember, outside calculation. So 0 times 0, 0 times 0, put your x, 1 times 0, 1 times 1, 100. Okay, so just remember, if you don't have the answer on your chart, you're going to need to do a big old times question. So, area equals 3.14 times 100. Now, there is an easy way of doing that. However, we're going to do it the long way. So 3.14 times 100. And we all know, anything times 0 is 0. So 0 times 4 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 3, still 0. Put your x. This is also a 0. So I know that my answers are going to be 0. Anything times 0 is 0. 0 times 4, 0 times 1, 0 times 3. Put 2 x's. Move to the 1. Now this one's going to have actual numbers. Whoops. All right. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Add up your answer lines. 0, 0, 4, 1, 3. Decimal, 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 decimal. So, if I only have zeros after the decimal, I don't really need to keep that decimal. I can just use 314. Area equals 314 centimeters squared. So, on page 28, you've got numbers 1 to 12. And then, you've also got page 29. Numbers 4 to 9. Please remember, take a look real quick actually on page 28. Number 4 and number 5, both of them are diameters. So you have to divide that diameter by 2 to get the radius. So as a quick example, on number 4, you have 25 diameter. So the radius equals diameter divided by 2. Radius equals 25 divided by 2. Radius equals 12.5. So 25 divided by 2. And you can do an outside calculation for that. So the radius on this one is 12.5. So that means on number 4 and number 5, you have to divide that by 2 before you can do the rest of your stuff. You cannot use the formula that has an R if you don't know how much the R is. So you've got to divide by 2 if you have a diameter that goes all the way across. Ask for help if you need it. And there's only those 2 pages, 28 and 29, but it is more complicated than what we've seen before because you've got exponents, you've got pi, and you've got changing diameters to radius. So take your time, focus on one thing at a time, ask for help if you need it. If you do end up getting done page 29 before 10:30, just go back and work on area of a square or area of a triangle.